Hello everyone, welcome to Tathastu and welcome to our daily news analysis wherein we are going to do the analysis of 18th of August. Before proceeding ahead with our class, first of all I would like to clarify a few things. आप सभी से कुछ बात कर रही है और वो ये है कि ये डीएनए को इंग्लिश में सिर्फ करने का जो डिसीजन है वो मेरा नहीं है, वो मैनेजमेंट का है. सो आई कांट डू एनीथिंग इन दिस थिंग. Well, let's get started with today's class, which is being presented by me. My name is Khushboo. And before proceeding ahead, first of all, I would like to let you know about the table of contents, the topics which we will be covering in today's class. So, the very first topic is no more bulk SIM cards. Many times all of you must have seen that there are various, there have been a lot of fraud cases, and in those fraud cases people actually use different SIM cards in order to call people and do the fraudulent acts and all. Now in order to avoid that, this decision has been made, and what all are further things we will get to know about that in this particular topic, under this topic. Now the next topic is now drones to monitor progress, quality of assets produced by MGNREGS. So we will be getting to know about this particular decision also of the government. And both of these are on page 1 itself, and both of these are related to the prelims itself, not of detailed discussion. Not that important when it comes to the detailed discussion and all. Third topic is gaps in births and deaths registration amendment act. What are those gaps and all? What are the what are the kind of negative points which the author has actually pointed out and which are really very much valid also? We will get to know about those points in under this particular topic, and this is of the editorial portion. Okay, this is of the editorial portion. Then comes word choice in data protection law, a dilution of rights. This is also of the editorial portion only. We will be covering this. Then comes President Murmu launches warship Vindhyagiri. Now what is this Vindhyagiri? Why it is that important that we have to discuss? So we will get to know about this under this topic. And the last topic which we will be taking is related to the people who are making the salt. So heat stress poses health risks for salt pan workers. So what are those, what are the problems actually these people are facing while preparing the salts and all? So we will get to know about this as well. Right, so this is on the science page, second last part, right? And when it comes to the text and context, not that much important news were there, so we are not discussing that in today's class. Let's get started with the very first topic, and that is related to the SIM cards, right? So it is no more bulk SIM cards as government steps in to curb the fraud. So this decision, as I told you in the starting itself, that this decision has been taken in order to avoid the fraudulent cases which were happening. All of you must have watched Jamtara series. In that, what these people were doing, they used to call the people, right, and then do the fraudulent acts, whatever was that, right? So they were using different SIMs, different numbers. Different SIMs means different numbers, right? So different numbers means, they were actually using huge number of numbers in order to call the people, right? So that is the reason why the government has taken this particular decision, which is quite good also, and which was required when it comes to this thing. So in order to reduce the cyber frauds performed through fraudulent acquired SIM cards, the Department of Telecommunications will now mandate registration. So here what they are doing, they are asking that you have to register in no matter what, right? So it mandates registration and indisputable verification of SIM dealers. That is what they are saying about this thing. Now the another part, that why this decision has been taken and what are the kind of fines which you have to pay if you are not actually following the kind of instructions which the government has actually forwarded. So the data and evidence showed us that there is complicity What it is there? There is complicity of dealers in cyber frauds, where attackers buy mobile numbers. They are actually purchasing the mobile numbers, and that too in the bulk. So anyone was actually able to buy it in the bulk. So, and then they were using them to call and defraud people. You must have watched a lot many videos related to this thing on Facebook, that how people actually are fooling other people by using different numbers, and quickly move on to another number once they are done with their work, or they feel that they will be caught, so they just remove it and then they quickly come up with the another number. Sim dealers who are found complicit in such a schemes will be fined 10 lakh rupees if you are not actually following the kind of instructions which the government has actually passed. Here, one more thing is that obviously that there will be a lot many people who need different numbers, you know, a good number of sims in order to run their business or to do some work and all, right? So obviously the transition period has been provided over here. So transition period will be provided to the people so that they could work on these things. Now the facility to provide sim connections in bulk to companies is being discontinued over here. Even the companies who were getting bulk sims in bulk, so that also is being discontinued by the government, and instead a business system is being put in place where they have to undertake a KYC, that is the know your customer, when a sim is being issued to them. So when it comes to the company bulk sims, when it comes to purchasing bulk sims, that has been discontinued, but rather than doing that, there will be a business system which will be put forward, and that will be used, that can be used by doing all the KYC procedures and all. You would be able to have good number of this is same. The existing system requires companies to preserve records of the individual subscribers, which they used to have it on the names of the different people. Now here it is being said that the who are the exceptions over here, who can have even now I mean these sims in bulk. So those are the government, defense and the law enforcement. So these are the people who can have these sims in the bulk. Even now they can have after all these kind of restrictions and all. So this was something which was really very important. Now apart from this, the next topic which we will be doing is on the drones. As you can see everywhere I have used the drones. So this is something which really fascinates me, and it's really very great kind of innovation. Okay, so over here now, drones to monitor progress, quality of assets produced by the MGNREGS work sites. Now in order to check out the progress of the MGNREGS sites, that how it is working and all. Now you can do that by using the drones. As you can see over here, in order to check out the progress over here, the drone has been actually used over here, right? So the Union Ministry of Rural Development has now said this thing, that they will be pressing drones into service to monitor both the progress and the quality of the assets produced. Right? So what kind of asset is being produced, the quality and how much progress is there. So in order to check out all those things, the drones will be used over here. Now the next point is that the drones will be used for the 4 types of monitoring. Please keep this thing in your mind. This will be used for the 4 types of monitoring. First is surveying the ongoing works, that what kind of work is actually going on, whether it is going in a good manner or what. Inspecting the completed works. So ongoing work can also be surveyed. Completed, once it has been submitted that the work is completed, right? In order to do that, in order to check out that, drones can be used. The third thing is that impact the assessment. the drones will be used in order to assess it as well. And apart from that, special inspection in case of the complaints, because there were several complaints wherein it has been said that the people are actually using, the contractors, the dealers are actually using the machines instead of humans in order to get the work done, right? So in order to let go those kind of thing if it is going on, right? So in order to do that, the drones will be used. So this is why it has been used, because when it comes to the MGNREG, the purpose behind coming up with this kind of scheme was in order to provide the work to the people, right? So this is what they were the government's thought is behind this MGNREG scheme, right? So that is the reason, if the people are actually using machines instead of humans, instead of the workers, then definitely the purpose is not fulfilled over here. The SOP stipulates that the drones will be used by the ombudsperson in every district who is responsible for registering suo motu complaints and disposing them within 30 days. And the government has actually directed the state governments in order to provide the facility to the ombudspersons as needed, because these are the people who will be looking after the complaints, and they will definitely try to resolve it also if any kind of complaint is there. Now the next topic is related to the Gaps in Birth and Deaths Registration Amendment Act, and this is the part of the editorial, and this is really very great editorial, I would say that, because many points has been pointed out over here by the author, that these could be the kind of problems which could actually arise because of the act, because of this amendment act, right? So the Registration of Births and Deaths, that is RBD Act 1969, it actually mandates, please remember this thing, that it mandates the compulsory registration of births and deaths under a uniform law across India. That has to be done. Okay, see, when it comes to the death certificate, right, you have to have birth certificate in order to get any kind of benefits if you are the sole survival of the person or anything related to that, or in order to get the property if the person has died all of a sudden and you need to transfer the property on your name. So in order to do that, and there are lots of other purposes also, for that you need to have this death certificate, right? So, and apart from that, when it comes to the birth certificate, the birth certificates are needed, just for an example, for your education, right, from the starting to the end. That is very much important, right? So both the certificates are very much important. Here it has been said that it is compulsory, it mandates the registration of both the things. Now recently it has actually, the recently passed Registration of Births and Deaths Amendment Bill 2023, it actually aims to amend the previous act. The previous act is of the 1969. Now the present one, the 2023, it is actually in order to amend the previous act. Now this act, in order to improve the efficiency and the transparency, why this is being done? The aim is in order to provide with the much better efficiency and the transparency, this is being done, and it aims to create a national and state level database for registered births and deaths to facilitate better public service delivery and the social benefits. So this is the reason why the national and state level database, this is the reason why they are actually amending. This is what the purpose behind this amendment act is. The amendment bill is actually being presented in front of you. Now what are the objectives of these amendments? Okay, so first of all is the creating the database. See, whenever you are registering that a child is born or a person is dead, so you are providing a kind of information database to the government. So obviously the database is being created. Another point is data sharing. Okay, so you are the one who are sharing data with the government, and the government can share it with the other departments also. Let's check it out, that what are all those things. The national and state level databases, here the bill actually makes it compulsory for the registrar of general. Please remember this thing. It makes it compulsory for the registrar of general, registrar general of India to maintain a national database. What? The national database. Who will be maintaining? Registrar General of India of the births and deaths. So he or she will be responsible in order to maintain the national database related to this thing, and for chief registrars in each state to maintain state level databases. So at the state level databases, chief registrars will be maintaining the same kind of data, which will be further forwarded to at the central level, and all linked through an approved portal. Okay, so the chief registrars will be the one who will be taking all the kind of information from the state, and then they will be putting it all over the portal, and that will be accessible by all the by the other portals, by the other people, who authorized people, or you can say the authorized departments, which includes even the Registrar General of India over here. Now the database integration, how it is being done over here. These databases are designed to update other critical databases like the National Population Register. So these databases will be linked with all these kind of things. Aadhaar database, electoral rolls, ration cards, passports, etc. for efficient and transparent service delivery. So these databases are designed to update the other critical databases also. Like just for an example, take the example of the Aadhaar database itself. There are a lot many people who dies every year, right? But the information related to those people are still over there at the platform, right? Which is not to, which might not be that much important when it comes to having it over there. But we don't know that whether that person, when it comes to the Aadhaar, just for an example, take the example that Aadhaar is a portal, right? So and the other platform is the platform wherein the information of the dead people are actually being provided. But here Aadhaar is not having any kind of information. Okay, until unless the information is being transported, the information is being transferred, this Aadhaar won't be able to know that who died, who is alive, what happened and all. This won't be aware of all these kind of things. Now in order to do that, here the database will be shared, right? Apart from that, when it comes to the electoral rolls, the same thing applies over here also. The electoral these voter cards might be issued for the dead people also, and that might be used by the other person in order to give the vote, right? So until unless this information is being provided that this person is dead or not, these voter cards will be issued, right? So that actually is really very wrong. Okay, so that for that particular purpose also, these databases which will be created on the basis of the births and death certificates and all, so that would be quite helpful over here. The same thing applies over with the ration cards, passports, etc. Now, when it comes to the Aadhaar information, the amendments require the collection of Aadhaar numbers of parents. Aadhaar, here what it is being done, the amendment is actually asking for the Aadhaar number of the parents at the time of the birth registration. However, it doesn't addresses the need for Aadhaar numbers of the deceased individuals. Okay. So here it is asking if a child is born, then in order to have the birth registration, if you want to register for that particular purpose, they are asking for the parent's Aadhaar number. But the same thing doesn't apply when it comes to when a person is actually dead. Okay, at that particular time, in order to get the registration, in order to get it registered, death registered, you are not actually asking for the numbers, which is crucial for updating the database. In order to remove their names, just for an example, remove their names from the electoral rolls, because they are not anymore. So obviously the voter cards are not supposed to be issued on their names, right? So here that is not being done. Okay, so here here the author is actually raising question over that particular point, that why it is not being done. Now the critique of the central and the state databases, how it is being done. The state government responsibility. The responsibility for the registration, it lies with the state governments. Just now we got to know about this thing, that the central registrar, this center registrars will be the one who would be responsible in order to gather the information at the state level, which will be further uploaded over there on the portal, which is accessible to the Registrar General of India as well, right? So over here, the state governments, in order to fetch the information, that is, I mean, the information is who is responsible in order to fetch the information. The state governments are responsible to do that, with the Registrar General of India coordinating and unifying the system over here, because different states UTs are there, so all the information will be unified and coordinated by the Registrar General of India. Now here it is talking about the redundancy of the national databases. The national database effectively complies with state level databases. National database is actually complying with that of the state level databases, but a more effective approach could be to design a system for direct data flow from the state level databases to other relevant databases, thereby making the national database redundant. Here it is saying that if it is not being done directly from the state databases, if the things are not being done, then definitely redundancy can be there. Okay, we need to work on that as well. Otherwise, one person with the different, say the same person's name will be at different, a number of times you can find it over there, right? So data redundancy it is talking about at the national database, because the one person is moving from one place to another place, so that can be done. Database, when it comes to the database sharing, the central database is intended to be shared with various authorities maintaining databases related to population, electoral rolls, Aadhaar, etc. This particular act only needs an enabling provision for information sharing, as birth and death registers are public document over here. Okay, so here it is saying that here it is asking this particular act only needs an enabling provision for information sharing, as birth and death registers are the public documents, obviously that who is dead and who is not. Now what is the challenges with the death certificates over here? See, many a times there are people who die all of a sudden, right? We are not having any kind of information that why this person died and all, right? So people don't even diagnose related to this thing, that why the person actually died. They just perform the last rituals and they are done with it, and then they go and register the death, register for the death. Okay, now the same, now here it is asking that in order to register, in order to get the death certification, you need to tell that what was the reason behind that, why the person actually died, right? So that is the kind of the thing which is actually creating the problem over here. Mandatory cause of death certificate, the thing which just now I told you the point, the amendment mandates a cause of death, and that has to be mentioned on the death certificate. For deaths in medical institutions, this raises concerns like the undiagnosed cases, like there will be some things wherein these practitioners won't even be knowing that why the person actually died, right? So medical practitioners may not always have a definite diagnosis just before the person died, so that might create the kind of problem. Ayush system also is creating the kind of issue over here, because when it comes to these practitioners of alternative medicine systems might not provide classifiable cause of death information as per the international standards. Now here international standards means the WHO, so they might not be able to provide the information according to the international standards, the Ayush systems. So those death certificates might not be very much useful when the person will be traveling to the other places. Okay, just for an example, a person died over here in India, but on the death certificate the Ayush people are actually, these practitioners wrote that because of so and so reason this person actually died, but that reason might not be as per the international standards when it comes to the other country, and the person who died might be having some kind of property in the other country, and if they are not willing to accept the cause of the death, then what will happen to the property, what will happen to the people who are actually looking forward in order to inherit that property, which actually belongs to them in one way or the another way. I'm just giving you an example. So that can create a problem over here. Now, apart from that, unavailability of the practitioners can also be the reason over here. Deaths outside the medical facilities might lack the accurate cause of death certificates when the attending practitioner isn't available. If the person is not available in order to check out that why this person actually died, then in that particular case, what will happen, right? So, why all these things are being said? Because this has been made mandatory that the cause of the death has to be mentioned over there on the death certificate. Now, here the another point is that the birth and death certificates and presumed death provision. Birth certificate, here the birth certificate importance, the bill emphasizes the importance of the birth certificates for the various purposes. I told you in the starting itself that why it is important. It is important in order to get the admission in the schools, in order to get the passport issued as well. So for all these purposes, birth certificate is important because it actually proves that on this and this day you actually were born, right? So that in order to get the in order to get your passport and admitted in the school, you need to have your birth certificate. Now the missing persons and presumed death. Now what will happen if the person is actually missing for many years? Then what will be mentioned over there on the death certificate or the birth certificate? What will be mentioned on the death certificate? What kind of information you will be providing? Because you don't know whether the person is even alive or not. You don't have any information. Now in cases of the natural calamities or accidents where the people go missing, like you can take the example of Uttarakhand itself, right? So people just go missing. You don't know that where the person is, right? So in that particular case also the same thing, the same kind of problem is there. What you will be mentioning over there, right? The act lacks a provision for registering presumed death causing distress to the families, and a provision could facilitate earlier issuance of death certificates in such a scenarios. So here these are the kind of issues which has been actually pointed out by the author, and you can see that all these are very much valid points. So you can write down, you can have it. You can download these PDF, my PDF from the Telegram channel, this Tathastu's current affairs Telegram channel. Now let's move on to the next topic, and the next topic is related to the very favorite topic of today's internet people. So that is the data protection. So a word choice in data protection law, a dilution of rights over here. Let's check out that what it is actually talking about. So recently passed this Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023 has raised a lot of concerns related to a lot many things. So it is the India's long awaited data protection law. Now what it aims at? It aims at in order to safeguard individuals' privacy and regulate the use of the personal data. Okay, what they are doing? Regulating the personal data usages and the individual's privacy also. They are saying that we will be safeguarding all these things. However, understanding the law's effectiveness in everyday scenarios requires analyzing its approach to data use with and without consent, because without consent also your data might be used by the government for any purposes and all. Now when it comes to the consent and data use, what are the kind of standard situations, the standard situations and the issues associated with this thing? Let's check this out. The standard for consent. Here, when it comes to having the data protection, okay, the very first thing which comes into your mind is the consent, that whether you want your information to be shared by the person, shared with any company or anything. Just for an example, this has been this is the kind of thing which always has been raised by the people, the concern which has been raised by the people, that whenever you are outside, the Google actually shows this is the kind of restaurant which you can visit, this is the nearby thing, that is the thing which you can try over here and there. Okay, so those kind of information, those kind of tracking you don't want, right? So the consent is very much important when it comes to all these kind of things over here, right? So here the standard for obtaining consent for the data use is the primary concern over here, that how, when I don't want that, if I am at home, I don't want Google or in the government to know that I'm at home. I don't want to tell in this, I don't want to share this with anyone, right? So that is my opinion, that is my data, and I don't want it to be shared with anyone. Now the consent matters over here. Okay, the act addresses situations where individuals may not want their data to be used without their choice, that I don't want to. But the problem over here, what I see is not right now, what I'm going to tell is not related to this Data Protection Act and all, but there are various numbers of apps that if you want to use those apps, you have to provide your data, like you have to log in order to fetch the information related to this thing. You want to proceed ahead with any kind of thing, you have to give your cookies. I don't want to give my cookies, right? So that is the kind of problem actually with the various websites, the apps and all. Well, over here it is being actually said that there might be many situations, there might be many points when the individual is actually not willing to share his or her data without their choice, such as online activity tracking or marketing calls and all. I don't want myself to be called for in order to be sold anything. Like nowadays you must have seen that everyone is getting calls related to, you want this credit card, you want that credit card. I don't want any credit card, please don't call me, right? Once you are having credit card, they will be running behind you in order to please give back our money and all. Today itself I just read one news that one of these people, these actually China based some company and all, in order to get their money back, they morphed the image of the person over some porn video and all, and they sent it to the to that particular person in order to threaten that if you are not paying us back, we are going to spread it all over. Just imagine the heights. Well, so before having the credit cards, please think 1,000 times that whether you would be able to pay it back in the coming days or not. Then only you have it. Well, let's move on to the next thing, that is the informed consent over here. Here it is saying that the act requires proper information disclosure and positive actions to indicate the consent, that we want your consent in order to have this information and we would like to share with all these the team and all, right? So all those kind of information should be shared. However, this provision is weakened by another provision allowing data use if an individual hasn't explicitly refused or indicated non-consent. Here it is being said that the proper information disclosure and the positive actions will be provided over there in order to get the consent. But what if you are not giving any you haven't tick this, you haven't checked the box that consent given. Just for an example, I'm telling you that consent given. Okay, I haven't done any kind of response and all, whether consent given and the another one is not given. Okay, so you have actually not given any kind of information, that you have not even checked it, this particular box, and not even the another one. Then what happens with this kind of thing? Here it is saying that if you haven't done, if you haven't refused it, if you haven't explicitly refused the consent or indicated non-consent over here, then the data might be used. So here you have to give the consent or not. You have to check in or you have to say no. So some information, either yes or no, you have to tell over here. So otherwise your data will be used. So this is the kind of wrong thing which will happen if, what if the person didn't read, what if the person just went off the website, right? So in that particular case, you are not supposed to use our data because I haven't given, I haven't said yes, not even no. Okay, Now the next thing, balancing convenience and the necessity over here. Using data without consent. In some kind of cases, public functions like identity verification, the kind of functions like the ID verification and welfare benefits targeting may require data use, and here the data is being used without consent. Okay, without consent it is being used. The act allows data processing for certain legitimate purposes even when not strictly necessary over here. So here the what is happening, data processing is being done for the legitimate purpose only, for the valid reasons only, but again the consent is not there, but still you have done. So this is the kind of problem which is being raised over here. Convenience over privacy. The act's wording shift from necessary for to just for. For certain uses weakens privacy protection over here. That is the reason why this article has actually said, talked about the word thing, playing with the words. The Data Protection Act is actually playing with the words, just like the UPSC does. Now, when data processing isn't strictly necessary, convenience often takes precedence over the privacy concerns, because it is convenient to me, so I will be using your data. Your privacy doesn't matter over here. Now, when it comes to processing without consent, lack of notification is there. When the data is being processed without consent, it doesn't require any kind of notification to the individual that we are going to use your data. So any notification is not being given over here. Individuals won't be informed or have the opportunity to stop it also. That means the person won't be actually having those kind of things, right? To opportunity to correct incorrect or the unnecessary data also. Here what is being said, the individual won't be informed or have the opportunity in order to correct the incorrect or delete the unnecessary data. So this is the kind of problem over here. Now when it comes to the usage of data for the multiple purposes and all. So data collected for non-consensual purpose can be freely used for other purposes despite established principles of necessity, that this was very much necessary. So that is the reason why we have to use your data. But when it is not there, then also they are doing this thing. And purpose limitation in the informational privacy is also the kind of concern which has been actually raised over here. So here it is being said that the broader concerns are there, a lot many things are there. The very here you can see when it comes to the our rights. So, information, free speech, surveillance reform and the regulatory structure have raised concerns related to the Data Protection Act, and here the policy choices are also the kind of things which are creating problem. Like the issues raised in the article are not just legal technicalities but the conscious policy choices that dilute our rights that could have been better protected by the government, because we look at government for many various reasons. We have chosen you to protect us, okay, not to go against us, right? So there are a lot many shortcomings which has to be taken care of, and our data has to be protected effectively. So that is what this particular editorial was actually talking about. So that was really very interesting and important one. Now, the next very important and very beautiful in news is related to the Vindhyagiri, which is what we are going to discuss. So, President Murmu launches warship Vindhyagiri. So, this Vindhyagiri, this was launched yesterday itself, and it was the last in the series of Project 17A Alpha frigates, which has been built by the Indian Navy at the Kolkata based Garden Reach shipbuilders and engineers. So these are the ones who actually built this particular ship for the Indian Navy, and it was the last in the series of the 3 Project 17A Alpha frigates over here. So why we are actually building our own ships, all these kind of ships and all. So these were actually done in order to become more Atmanirbhar. Why it has been done? In order to become the Atmanirbhar through indigenous shipbuilding. We are actually walking towards this particular goal itself, that we actually want ourselves to be independent of any kind of exports. We don't want to export anything. Okay, we just don't want to export anything, we just want to be Atmanirbhar. Okay, so that is the point which is actually being said over here, and that is the reason why we are building our own ships. So here this was taken from the Hindu, and this particular thing has been taken from the Indian Express point. So here when it comes to the Project 17A frigate, there are many ships which has been actually which has been built under this particular project itself. The other 5 ships which were actually built under this project were the INS Nilgiri, Udaygiri, Himgiri, Taragiri and Dunagiri. And all of these 5 ships were built from 2019 to 2022, and all these were done, and now the last one is this Vindhyagiri. Okay, all of you can remember Vindhyachal, so that is the Vindhyagiri. So now these ships here, why we are discussing this thing? So very first thing why we are discussing is the aim, and that aim is the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this is the first point. Another point is that we want to have those kind of ships in our in the short, if I have to tell, so that is for the defense purpose. Okay, for the defense purpose. So that is the second point over here, right? So these ships are capable of neutralizing threats in all 3 dimensions, and all 3 dimensions means the air, surface and the subsurface. In all, at all these point, you can use these ships and they would be able to protect us, right? So when it comes to this particular word, that is the frigate. Okay, here you can see the frigate. This word, what it actually means. So here it is actually, you can say that it is the front runner. It is actually protecting the other ships and all, other things and all. It is protecting. So it is like a defender, you can say. Okay, it is what? It is a defender, like just in the football, right? So in that game, so this one is also, this also works like that only. Okay, and there are other. Here you can see the stealth frigate. Here it is the stealth frigate. So this is the one which is the front running. Okay, so they are the one who are defenders, right? Now there are other kind of ships also which you can term them as the destroyers, who have been built with the focus on enemy, in order to destroy for the war, or you can call them as a warships, right? So those are the other kind. Here it is the stealth frigate over here, right? Indian Navy is actually striving in order to become self-reliant by 2047. This is the aim of the Indian Navy. Now here sorry, the last topic of the day is the heat stress, and the heat stress which is actually possessing the kind of health risks for the salt pan workers. This is what the study has actually found out. So these are the people who are facing a lot of issues, and all these are because of the climate change. Okay, climate change, because with the climate change there is a lot of heat, and as you can see, these people are always working in the open area. So this is the reason why they are facing a lot of heat stress, and this is impacting their health in a really very bad way. So that is what it is actually pointing out over here. Now a study was actually done by a few people, and this was found that 9 out of 10 salt pan workers self-reported themselves of the heat strain symptoms, and their average water intake was that of the 1 liter only. Just imagine, they were consuming how much of water? Just 1 liter, which is really very less. which is very less. Here one thing has been pointed out by the lady workers, the women worker, and that was that they would have consumed lot of water if the toilet facility would have been much better. So that is the reason why they are not consuming much of the water. They are always in the heat, they are always under the sun, okay, and but after that also they are not consuming water. What is the reason behind that? Toilet facilities. They have given this as an excuse, and which is really very obvious also, because they face a lot of different kind of safety issues. That is the reason why they are actually not consuming the much of the water. So that is also a kind of problem over here. Now the study outlined the need for workplace interventions to provide access to the water and rests in the shade, sanitation and education on the need to hydrate. That you are working under the sun over the period of time for really very long hours, you need to consume a lot of water, and they are not doing that. So we need to address this situation by educating these people, right? The study which has been done, it has been named actually as the occupational heat stress and kidney health in the salt pan workers, because it actually impacts your kidney if you are not properly taking your water, and as well as if you are not urinating at proper time properly also. So that is also a kind of problem which creates. The researchers evaluated the workload for different job roles and classified heat stress levels under this thing. The key indicators, just for an example, what they took was the pre and post shift heart rates, core body temperatures, urine characteristics, sweat rates and kidney function parameters were measured when they were doing all these kind of studies on these pan workers. Here every participant had either a heavy or moderate workload, and close to 90% of workers were working above the recommended limits of the heat exposure. That, just for an example, if they were supposed to be exposed to heat just for 4 hours, they would have been working even more than that, like 5, 7, 8, 9 hours, because the workers don't have any say though what to do. This is the reality. This is the reality of our society. Well, the majority of workers, that is 93%, reported that they had experienced at least one of the self-reported heat strain systems. And what are those? Those were the excessive sweating, thirst, dizziness because of continuously working in the heat, muscle cramps, headache, nausea or vomiting, fainting, or prickly heat, or that of the rashes which people face because of the continuously being over there under the sun. Now dry mouth or severe thirst signs of dehydration was reported by 59% of the workers, and about 77% of the workers reported at least one of these symptoms. And what are those symptoms which the 77% of the workers actually pointed out? Those were the changes in the urine volume or color, burning sensations when urinating, rashes and urinary tract infections, that is the UTI, which is actually becoming quite common, and this is not even right also. Now all these things has been pointed out, all those problems have been pointed out, and the reason behind that is the very first thing, that they are not consuming the proper amount of water. So water consumption was very much low. So that is the one thing. And another point which has been pointed out is that they would have been working under the sun for really very long hours, which is actually not permitted. Now, about 23% of the women said they would drink more if they had better toilet access, which I had already pointed out. And one of the very 5 had sick leave owing to heat-related health difficulties in the last 6 months, while the third said that they did not finish work on time because of the heat, because they were not able to take it. So all these things are actually impacting their kidney health. Why? Because they are not consuming proper water, and when it comes to the urinating, they are holding it for really very long hours also. The impact of the heat stress on kidney health is that the studies, this particular study revealed a prevalence of low estimated glomerular filtration rate, a marker of kidney function in 7% of the workers. Heat stress has been linked to various kidney related issues, which included even the acute kidney injury, kidney stones, and chronic kidney disease, and that of the UTI also. So what this particular study is actually talking about, this is saying that these salt workers, they need to have their health checked up really very properly, and they need to have some kind of solutions related to this thing. They need the shade, they need the sanitation, they need the proper water also. Otherwise they won't be able to survive this heat, which is actually increasing year by year, all thanks to the climate change, and because of all thanks to the human beings, that is us. Well, this was the daily news analysis. I hope that all of you really enjoyed it, liked it. See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care and have a great time. Good night.